everyone, Leticia here, coming to you this Thursday afternoon, December 10th, 2020, for another session of my weekly Money Matters webinars. And as announced a little earlier today, I am doing a session today on Playa del Carmen real estate. As some of you already know, I have been spending the past 3 months in Mexico, out of which more than 2 months in the beautiful coastal town of Playa del Carmen. And yeah, of course, I'm still somewhat distracted about the news I got yesterday regarding my friend. I've already posted about that. So I'm gonna do my best to stay on topic as much as possible. So as mentioned, some of you have already seen some of my videos from Playa del Carmen. And of course, I'm getting questions about what it's like living here, and including about the real estate market here. And guys, I was hoping to have a local realtor join me for this session. Unfortunately, the person that I connected with, who is an experienced independent realtor here in Playa del Carmen, is a little camera shy. So, and it was, you know, I could only do so much convincing. He said perhaps on a future session, he needed to know more about it. So, you know what, I will be happily sharing with you what I found out so far. Now, I did take so many videos, they're still on my phone, so we may have to use other visual aids. But in case you're wondering, so I think what I'll do first of all is I will bring up a map just so you have an idea of where Playa del Carmen is, for those of you who perhaps haven't been to this area. And I will also mention to you why I've chosen to come here as opposed to somewhere else in Mexico. And then we'll get into the real estate market, specifically both rentals in terms of what's available as a rental, and also some of the purchase opportunities should some of you be interested in purchasing property down here, or if you even have the curiosity as to what's available, what the price point is like, and so on. Okay, so let me see what's happening. Let me see if I can share my screen with you. Give me 1 second, guys. I'm gonna just bring up Google Maps, okay, for lack of a better tool. Oh, I cannot minimize, okay. Am I actually even sharing? Yeah, okay, good, okay. So let's go to maps. Thanks for your patience. Let's all right, so I'm going to share my screen with you so you'll see what we're looking at here, or what I'm looking at. Okay. So Playa del Carmen is a city located in the Yucatan Peninsula of Mexico in a state called Quintana Roo. It's spelled Quintana, R-O-O, R-O-O. So I always used to say Quintana Roo, but in Spanish it's just Quintana Roo. So the closest major city is Cancun. Should you decide to ever come to this area, you'd be flying into Cancun, okay? Now, I've already explained in previous videos, in some of my vlogs, why I made the decision to come here. Well, there were a number of things involved. Where I was living in Toronto, I had to move. I was facing the possibility of a high cost of living for a city that I no longer enjoyed living in, quite frankly. I'm sorry to say this, but we all know what's been happening in our beloved city of Toronto in recent months. And as you all know, I was quite active in the fight for freedom, for lack of a better term, as I know many of you are. And I cannot tell any of you what to do, but for me, again, for a number of reasons, it just made sense to come down here, at least for the foreseeable future, okay? And of course, you may be wondering, you know, isn't this agenda happening worldwide? What's the point of coming to Mexico? Like, aren't you just delaying the inevitable? And that may be the case, I won't lie. All I can tell you is based on my experience so far, things have been more open here versus how it is in Toronto right now and in some of the other major Canadian cities. Um, and I cannot speak about all of Mexico. Prior to coming here, I spent 2 days, 2 weeks in Mexico City. I did not enjoy being there. Number one, Mexico City is a huge city, upwards of 20 million people, very polluted. Coming from a relatively clean air city like Toronto, Mexico City, I just couldn't handle the air pollution. And to give you an idea, they every driver in Mexico City, anybody who owns a car, they're only allowed to drive 6 days out of the week. Each week they have to take 1 day off the roads. That's an attempt, I guess, the local government is doing to curb pollution. But it's to me not a very livable city. Of course, there are absolutely beautiful areas in Mexico City. We then, myself and Anthony, we then headed over to Merida, and I don't want to badmouth Merida, although I will, sorry. Merida is another big city in the Yucatan Peninsula, which I will show you where it's located. Well, big, I don't know how big, but it's one of the largest cities in the Yucatan Peninsula. And if you look at websites and blogs, you'll hear great things about Merida, that it's considered, perhaps the safest city in North America, probably the safest city in Mexico. In my experience, there's and as we've all learned in the past few months, there's a trade-off between safety and freedom. And you know what? There's a happy medium in there. To me, Merida was not a place I would want to live. When I went to Merida, they were under the orange COVID restrictions, and which meant to get into any basic store, you had to wear a mask. Even a little store, the corner shops, restaurants were takeout only. So Merida, even though both Merida and Playa del Carmen and Cancun are all located in the Yucatan Peninsula, they're actually different states. So Merida is in the state of Yucatan, whereas Playa del Carmen, Cancun, and this entire area here on the coast, also known as the Riviera Maya, are in the state of Quintana Roo. So they have had different semáforos, stoplights on this COVID tracker system. So again, I know this may be disappointing to some of you, but unfortunately, again, the agenda is playing out here as well, in some states more than others. This being said, I was talking to one of my contacts, Alberto, who is actually a licensed realtor. He's a contractor and a realtor in the Toronto area. He's also a Mexican national. He owns property in Playa del Carmen, and he's also promoting some rental properties, some investment properties here in Playa del Carmen. And what he found out and what he told me is that, and this is information that you can apparently find out on the airport website, the Cancun airport is currently operating at 50% capacity. Contrast that to Toronto, to Pearson Airport, which is currently operating at 5% capacity. So for better or for worse, tourism has always played a major role in this area. And the government of Quintana Roo, the state government, they have an interest in keeping the tourism going. And the most recent news is that they're going to be going shortly to a green semáforo. Now, and again, I'm kind of sharing my thoughts. Really, I'm trying to get my thoughts organized. But what I'd like to say is, what I'm noticing, even coming here and being here for the past 2 months, and what I'm hearing from some of the locals previously, so this is actually my 4th time in Playa del Carmen. Previously, I had come here as a visitor, and every time I would come, I would stay for, a week, 10 days, and usually around 10 days. And, I would come, I would enjoy the beautiful weather, the sea, the many restaurants, and the nightlife and so on. And, spend a bunch of money and then leave, and still thinking about this beautiful area. And that was, I would say, the traditional tourism that this area was used to getting. It was a vacation destination. And I would do so, what I would do in the past, I would simply rent an Airbnb, and do that. Now, many people, Canadians, Americans, have always heard, Mexico is so dangerous, and rather than renting an Airbnb, they may have not even thought of that. Now it is an option, of course, but many people would just go to an all-inclusive resort. And hey, there are advantages to that. If you're only going to come for a week and you want to live like a king and be well attended, there are 4 or 5-star resorts in the area that are, absolutely luxury resorts. My current understanding is because of the restrictions, they're currently operating at only about 30% capacity. But friends of ours have recently been to the area, and perhaps you could ask them how they enjoyed the resort experience. Now, you may wonder, why have I decided on, so yeah, I only spent 1 week in Merida because I was very much put off by the, in my opinion, ridiculous COVID restrictions. Yeah, Merida may be a safe city. There was, every few blocks, there was police, doing traffic checks, but I just did not enjoy that sort of atmosphere. Yeah, it may be safe, but no, thank you. That's not why I came down here, looking for more government control and that kind of safety. No, thank you. Some people now, and also Merida to me is a very quiet town. Now, real estate prices, whether for rent or for purchase in the Merida area, are going to be lower than in Playa del Carmen. That being said, again, it's a lifestyle choice. For me, there's just no way I would live in Merida. I can tell you right now. So with that said, but again, some people, I don't think my people, but other people may enjoy that sort of vibe. Merida is a very colonial city. It's very quiet. And again, especially considering restaurants were takeout only, I don't know if that's changed in the meantime. To me, it was just way too quiet, and I couldn't live there. That being said, okay, now, so after Merida, I had previously been to Playa del Carmen, so I was familiar with Playa del Carmen. I did spend the night in Cancun, and I thought about maybe spending a few more nights in Cancun, but I quickly realized that Cancun is not a very walkable city. So Cancun is a city of about 1 million people. It is one of the, it's the largest in Quintana Roo. It's a more developed city. It has parks. It has, big box stores. If you want to go to a Costco, there isn't a Costco in Playa del Carmen, but there's one in Cancun. Okay, for those of you who want to shop at Costco for whatever reason. This whole area is absolutely beautiful. Beautiful white sand beaches, and those beaches can be found along the coast, whether you're whether in the Cancun area or Playa del Carmen. Now, I'll tell you, my opinion of Cancun. First of all, again, I did not find it to be a very walkable city. In Cancun, you pretty much need to have a car to get around, or you're going to be relying on Ubers or taxis. There is Uber in Cancun, whereas in Playa del Carmen there isn't. Reason being, the local taxi union, like the taxis in Playa del Carmen, they have a strong voice. It's one of the main occupations here, being such a tourist town. So they did not want Uber to come in. Now, that being said, taxis are very reasonable in Playa del Carmen. To give you an idea, just to get around town, you're looking at about 40 pesos, which is the equivalent of it's less than $2 Canadian. Currently, it's actually about $2.30, because with the Canadian dollar being about 15 pesos, 30 pesos would be about $2 Canadian. The American dollar right now, I think it's about 18.5 pesos. Okay, so contrast that to Playa del Carmen. Playa del Carmen is, it's a smaller city. It's about 250,000 people. It is very much under development right now. Like, even, before the current situation started, there was massive development. And you know what, guys, I really wish I could show you some videos I have on my cell phone, but there is major condo construction going on here. Many foreigners have purchased properties, and many are at the very least renting. So yeah, in terms of the types of travelers that are coming to this area now, whereas in the past, again, you would see a lot of short-term vacationers, I think what we're seeing more and more are people like myself who have the ability to work online, at least to some extent, and are, you know, are literally getting away from, what could I call them, unfriendly environments in their country of origin. So what we're seeing, you know, I'm seeing Americans, I'm seeing Canadians from different provinces of Canada. I've personally met some. I've met an Australian family who literally sold their house in Australia, came here with their 3 teenage sons, after having to ask for permission of the Australian government to leave the country. You guys all know how I feel about what's going on. In any case, in case you're wondering, as of now, Mexico does not require a test to get into the country. You do not require to pass, you're not required to pass a COVID test. You're not required to quarantine for 14 days upon arrival. Okay, that's the basic question many of you have had. I was talking to a client from who's originally from Costa Rica, and she told me that you know, in my understanding, Costa Rica did initially require the test or the quarantine. They got rid of all those requirements because they found it was literally killing the travel industry. And Costa Rica, as with this area of Mexico, they are very much reliant on tourism. So if you're a Canadian or American considering coming to this area, you know, if you're coming here with the idea of staying for a month or 2 or 3 months and just to kind of check it out, see how you like it, you're obviously not going to want to stay in an expensive, well, you know, everything's relative, but the all-inclusive resorts are ideal for those 1 or 2 weeks holidays, but ideal for some people, not for me. I'm not the type of traveler that enjoys all-inclusives, but some people do like that level of service and luxury and so on. If you're going to be staying here longer, you're most Canadians and Americans are familiar with Airbnb. And you know, when I first came here, I figured, you know what, I'm going to stay a few nights in an Airbnb, and then I'm going to look for a long-term rental. And this is where the issue arises. Right now, especially here in Playa del Carmen, like this whole area right now is actually the beginning of their high season. So the months of December, January, February are the months when traditionally everybody who lives in the northern climates where it gets freezing cold tend to come here for vacation. And increasingly more people, especially with this digital world that we're living in, people having the ability to work online, more and more people are coming here on working holidays or literally considering relocation here. If you come with a Canadian passport or American passport, or pretty much, you know, most other countries, you're allowed to stay with for 6 months. There is the possibility of extending that. You technically have to leave the country and potentially apply for an extension. And then there's also the potential of pursuing Mexican residency, which is something I would prefer to discuss on a different call. Okay, but the idea is if you're going to come and just check it out for maybe 2 or 3 months, you're going to want to get maybe a long-term rental. Now, Airbnb is not the place to be looking for long-term rentals, as you may find out. A girlfriend of mine who is also considering coming here soon was looking at a rental on Airbnb in the month of October, and was listed at about 600 Canadian month, 600 Canadian dollars a month. By the time she checked again a month later, for December arrival, that same Airbnb was 2,000 Canadian a month. So many of you, if you're looking on Airbnb and getting intimidated by the prices, worry not. That Airbnb is not the only game in town. And Airbnb is really used by the locals to advertise short-term rentals, the traditional visitors to the area. But what's happening right now is that, again, increasingly people are staying longer. So if somebody's willing to commit to a 3 or 6 month contract, you can expect that you can negotiate the rent. Now, I'm going to show you guys a website that you're probably not familiar with, and it's a Mexican version of MLS, okay? It's called Viva Anuncios. I'll give you guys an idea in case you want to just kind of look around, see what's available, okay? Most of the listings on there tell you that it has to be a 1 minimum rental. So it's a website where realtors and local property owners list properties for rent, either for long-term rent and also for sale. So it's called Viva Anuncios. I'm gonna share my screen with you. Okay. Now this website is Mexico-wide. I'm not sure if it's in other countries, but definitely in Mexico. I don't know if you can convert it to Spanish, to English, but as you can see, let me see, are you actually, am I still, I'm gonna do a new share just in case. Oh no, you can still see it, okay. Yeah, so I had heard about this website from the channel of an expat that lives in Merida. Jose Arteaga is his name, great guy. Mind you, he lives in Merida, likes Merida, and of course, he gave a lot of helpful tips. And this is one of the websites that he talked about. And now, my experience, unfortunately, with this website, so here's the thing. You come here, you're in an Airbnb for a few nights. And Airbnbs are tourist prices. You're paying on a nightly basis. You may reserve a week in advance, but usually only if you reserve a month would you get any kind of discount or decent price. And right now, especially if you're looking at coming in December, the month of December, rents are the highest. January, February, they tend to cool off a bit, but it's still high season. Our traditional summer months in the Northern Hemisphere are their low season here, because that's when you get the rainy season. I came to the area September, October. I did have the pleasure, quote unquote, of experiencing my first ever hurricane, two of them actually. Thankfully, neither one of them was very damaging. They were category 1 or 2. Buildings here are designed for this, much more so than in places like the USA, where unfortunately, we've all seen some of the devastation that hurricanes can cause, especially when you're dealing with buildings that are made out of plywood or some of these less resistant materials. Buildings here, especially, we're talking about the condominiums, they're all made out of concrete blocks. It's solid built, okay? So that being said, right now, I'm very grateful. The weather has been wonderful for the past few days, and it's expected to continue this way. Traditionally, this is the beautiful season. So to give you an idea, if I want to search for, okay, yeah, so let me tell you about my experience with Viva Anuncios. So I knew about this site and I was excited, to find some long-term rentals that were listed at decent prices, much more decent than Airbnb. This being said, if you think you're going to reach out to the realtors via message, my experience is like I sent so many messages and only a very small percentage of realtors got back to me. And then I had the experience that the one realtor who seemed most helpful, I was really surprised because, in Canada, we're used to a system where realtors cooperate with each other. So if a realtor has a number of listings and another realtor has a client, the two of them will co-broker the deal. I don't know what the term is, but they'll work together for the benefit of the seller or the landlord and the tenant, or vice versa if it's a purchase or sale. Well, here in Mexico, my experience was, at least with that initial realtor, she showed me a bunch of properties that I guess she had listed. But because I didn't like any of them, despite her initial pleasant words that, we're your friends here, you can count on us. She and her husband are both realtors. Again, when she saw I didn't like any of her listings, she basically left me high and dry and never heard back from her again. I found that disappointing because she seemed like a nice lady. And I had asked her, hey, what about this listing? Can you possibly inquire about this listing? I think this would meet my needs. And she's like, oh, that's going to be a little complicated, because in my understanding, it was not her brokerage. It wasn't a listing provided by her brokerage. Therefore, they weren't going to work together. So no, I later realized that there are other realtors that are more than willing to cooperate with other agents and share the commission. So if a realtor brings an agent, if a realtor brings a client, it'll be similar to the Canadian system where realtors work together. And those are the people I would want to work with. So I'm very happy. I've already connected with at least 2 realtors that are helpful in this matter. And in fact, one of them wants me to help him with his business because he's been living here for 5 years. He only speaks English. He attracts a lot of foreigners as his clients, but he sometimes needs help dealing with the property owners, property managers, and so on. So todo bien. I'm open to that, and hopefully he won't be as camera shy for a future call, okay? And you guys will have a chance to meet him. And so with that said, again, over here, if you wanted to have a look, let's say in Playa del Carmen. Oh yeah, before I get into this, sorry guys, one other city, town that you're gonna hear about in the Riviera Maya, and I'm sure at least some of you will have visited, is Tulum. And many people have this very idyllic idea of Tulum, and I won't lie, the beach in Tulum is absolutely beautiful, but so is the beach in Playa del Carmen. But Tulum has had this mystique about being somewhat more remote. Again, if you're just looking to come here for a week, 2 weeks to have a complete disconnect, Tulum Beach is beautiful. What's happening in Tulum though, and let me see if I can go back to the Google Maps. Okay, this is Playa del Carmen. So if you've got Cancun right up here, Cancun, big city. You go further down, you've got Playa del Carmen, where I am, and then you've got Puerto Aventuras is a smaller beach town. Akumal, these are all small beach town, and then eventually you come to Tulum. And Tulum again is a smaller city. I don't know what the population. Last I checked, the population was about 40,000, but it's definitely also one of the growing areas. The issue I had with Tulum, and I've been to Tulum a couple of times because part of Anthony's family lives there, his relatives, and so on. The issue with Tulum is to get to the beach, which we all want to be able to visit if we're going to be living in a beach town. It's quite the distance. You have to either drive or take a bike or a motorcycle. It's not as easy to walk. There's a long road that takes you to the beach. And then you get to what's called Tulum Beach, where all of the luxury boutique resorts are located, which is great. Again, if you're only coming for a week or two, you're going to have an incredible time. But in terms of a city to live in, I cannot say I'm a fan of Tulum. It also happens to be literally one of the most expensive places in the area. If you're going to go out to restaurants and eat, you're paying USD equivalent, and even higher, much higher. So it's in many, I'm not the only one who will tell you Tulum is currently overpriced. And also, unfortunately, in terms of the development of the city, and perhaps, I'll do some live videos in the future, show you guys, there wasn't a lot of rhyme and reason in terms of how the city was built. There's one long road. And again, I'm talking about Tulum town, which is not where the beach is. Again, if you want to go to the beach, you got to take the long road, go to the beach. It's just not pretty, okay? Whereas in Playa del Carmen, I can walk around and yeah, I know it doesn't do it justice, just me talking about it. I will be posting more videos. My plan is to create a separate Instagram account where I'll strictly be showcasing, what you've got to look at around here, because, I'm really grateful to be here and live surrounded by all this beauty. So anyway, so that's the reason Tulum was not a consideration for me, because I had been there, and my idea was I want to be in a walkable city, a place where I can walk to the beach, where I can walk to the grocery store. Now, so here's the other issue I had coming here and dealing with that initial realtor in Playa del Carmen. When I told her kind of how much I was hoping to spend a month, she was taking me to some neighborhood. So yeah, I'm gonna zoom in and show you guys. First of all, I'll show you guys kind of my neighborhood and tell you a little bit about. So yeah, here's the city. I want to still be able to see the neighborhood names. Okay, so this is Playa del Carmen, and as you can see, these are the neighborhood names. Okay, I am in this neighborhood called Sasilha. That's how it's pronounced. Okay, no, I'm not gonna go to Bonitas. Okay, when Playa del Carmen first started being developed, they started with this area called Centro. So this area is probably the most developed area in Playa. There isn't, in this area, Centro, it's already almost fully built. What can I say? In other words, there's been a lot of redevelopment old houses were torn down, condo buildings were built. The whole of Playa is in development. There are condo buildings being built everywhere. There's been some slowdown from what I hear from the locals because of the current situation, but yeah. And you may also have heard of the famous Quinta Avenida in Playa del Carmen. So as you can see, you've got 10th Avenue, and then you've got the Quinta Avenida, which is down here. Quinta Avenida is a pedestrian or peatonal street, which is it's full of shops, restaurants, nightlife. It's really the heart of Playa. Anybody who comes as a tourist to Playa, you know, that's the place where they like to go because it's full of life. And you may have seen some of my short videos that I've done from here. So especially if you're gonna only be, you know, if you're coming for a short time, yeah, you want to be somewhere, you want to be located close to the Quinta Avenida. Now, that being said, you know, if you're gonna be right here, like in this busy area, of Quinta Avenida, this may not be the best place to get a good night's rest because clubs, restaurants are open and they stay open till late, and you may not enjoy having every night, okay? So, well, that's what we're talking about, but I was talking about the loud music. Now, you see this yellow line right here, guys? This is the federal, they call it Carretera Federal, federal highway. This is the highway that connects Cancun, Playa del Carmen, Tulum. It's essentially the main highway that connects all these beach towns, and it goes all the way down to, I'd like to think Belize. Belize is the country just south of Quintana Roo, okay? So as you can see, there's also this neighborhood called Playa Car, okay? So if you are looking for a rental, whether it's initial Airbnb or even a long-term rental, unless you're going to have a car, my recommendation is to stay east of the Avenida Federal, okay, the Carretera Federal, east of this highway. So closer to the beach, you don't want to be past the highway. The reason is, of course, rents and property prices past the highway tend to be cheaper, no doubt about it. If you're not going to have a car, it's not particularly pleasant to be crossing this. It's a two-lane highway on each side. Yes, they have crossing areas. I just personally, I would not want to be doing that on a daily basis, especially if I want to walk to the beach, okay? All these neighborhoods here, guys, are great. El Centro, again, very central. The most touristic area of Playa is, as you can see here, is this Avenida Constituyentes. This is where the action is, okay? This whole area, central. Now, Playa Car, which you may hear about, is a more exclusive neighborhood. My issue is, again, if you don't have a car, it's a bit far away. It's sort of like a subdivision. They have security at the door to get in. It's a more exclusive neighborhood. Rents tend to be higher in Playa Car rent, property prices. It's considered an exclusive neighborhood. As you can see, there are actually a couple of all-inclusive resorts that are like literally bordering Playa Car Palace. That will be the closest. Again, the issue for me with Playa Car is that it's a little too remote. If I want to, you know, depending on where you are in Playa Car, like if you're close to here, that's probably fine. But if you're like in the heart of Playa Car, I may not, you know, if I want to walk to the touristy area, it's just a little bit remote. So anyway, my preference, the reason I chose my neighborhood, which is Sasilha, is because it's close to the touristic area, it's close to the Quinta Avenida, but it's not as loud and crazy. So this whole area here, this I could say it's kind of like the edge of the touristic area. And then as you move further north, you get into a neighborhood called Luis Donaldo Colosio. Now, rents, property prices, everything here is going to be lower in Colosio. It's also short form Colosio. Yes, they're going to be lower. You're still, you know, on the beach. However, I can tell you, this is a far less developed neighborhood. We are increasingly seeing brand new, beautiful condo buildings being built everywhere here. But if you're new to Playa, And if you're looking for an Airbnb, my recommendation would be stay south of Avenida CTM. This area here, what can I say? It's not going to be as pretty. I know women, local women that live in this area, and they don't feel comfortable walking at night. I'm sorry to say, but they have to take the cab to get home at night, and so that's something you have to consider. Yeah, if you live there, your rent will be lower, but yeah, during the day, I would say no issues during the day, even though it's not as pretty to walk around in. But you're going to be needing cabs to get around at night, especially. And there's not much going on in terms of nightlife. There's really, this is more of a, like I said, residential area. There are increasing developments. There are beautiful condo buildings that are being built along here. There may be a good option for some of you, especially those of you who are looking for a long-term, more affordable stay, as long as you understand kind of like what comes with the territory. Myself, as a single woman, I feel much more comfortable being I would feel more comfortable being either here in Sasiuha. Tohoku is another beautiful neighborhood. So I know some of you are thinking, okay, if I want to come and rent an apartment for, I'm not sure how long I want to stay for. Now, those of you who are coming for a week, please go on Airbnb, look for something in this area. Like I said, you don't want to go. There are other neighborhoods. There's this neighborhood called Ejida. Great if you have a car, Real, Ibiza, all these places, great if you have a car. Some of these neighborhoods I've heard, they're not the safest. So, I would really, if you're coming for a short stay, a week or two, you want to stay, definitely keep it east of this yellow line, okay? You can look at either, like I said, Satsila is my favorite, but it doesn't have, some of you like more nightlife. If you're a single person, no kids, what have you, you want to just come here, have a good time, go to the clubs, you might want to stay closer to El Centro or Gonzalo Guerrero, this area. And the closer you are to, this is 10th Avenida. Avenida Quinta is basically this walkable street over here. Yeah. This whole area, the yellow area, is the touristy area. This is where all the bars and restaurants are. It's a pedestrian area. Cars are only allowed up to Avenida 10, and then selectively just to drop off supplies and stuff like that, okay? Now, if you're gonna stay for longer, again, you could try looking by yourself on a site like Viva Anuncios. My experience was the realtors, man, like, I don't know how many messages I had to send. I might have sent like 30 messages and I got under 5 replies. And some of the realtors were responding like a week and a half later after I already had found a place. Perhaps if you call the listing agents directly or the owners, you may get a better response. So definitely, I would say don't even bother messaging. I learned from that experience. Now, again, because I am becoming tapped in and I'm starting to work with this realtor, I will likely have access. I've already started helping some people to find longer term rentals. And by longer term, I mean anywhere from, a month, 2 months, 3 months. Even so, unless you're willing to commit for at least 3 months, it's considered a vacational rental. Owners usually want a higher price point. And just to give you an idea, right now, if you want to live in a modern condo, you know what, I have maybe one set of pictures I can show you guys that, we were just at a beautiful condo building today. Let me see if I have it open. It was, I opened it, it was a Dropbox that the realtor sent me. Yeah, so we were quoted, about 1,500 USD for a vacational rental during this period. 1,500, you may be looking at even 2,000 USD. I realize that that's probably not what you're thinking of. So, some of you may be okay with that. I mean, compared to Toronto rents, it could be on par. And especially if you're no longer keeping your place in Toronto, you may be okay, especially if you have steady income coming in, you may be okay paying those types of rents for a beautiful modern place with a rooftop terrace, with a pool, with vista al mar, view of the sea, of the beach, but yeah, I was quoted just today together with this girlfriend. We were looking at some rentals, and again, you're looking at anywhere from 22,000 pesos to 30,000 pesos. And again, you do the math, that's roughly anywhere from 1,200 USD or 1,200 Canadian to, or 1,500 Canadian to 2,000 Canadian per month. Now, these are not the only types of rentals available. So if you're willing to live in a place that is not as luxe, you can literally get apartments for as low as 500 Canadian dollars a month. Now, those apartments, even here in the tourist area, so I actually was looking at some rentals for a client of this realtor that I met who was so swamped. He asked me, hey, can you do me a favor? No problem. So right here, just passing Sasilha, walking a few beach blocks towards Colosio. This is still a very sort of like developing area. You're not going all the way in the heart of Colosio, but you're here. Again, we saw a one-bedroom apartment at 500 Canadian dollars a month, 7,500 pesos a month. For 600-700, again, you could get a decent renovated rental. Again, you're not going to be right here in the heart of the party district, but you're going to be in a nicer, quiet area. One of the things you're going to want to ask about, whether you're dealing with a realtor or with the owners directly, is do they accept pets? If you have a pet, not, as you can expect, not every property owner is okay with pets. Okay. I know I'm 4:43. I'm coming on to, I've only really spoken about the rental market. Some of you have asked me about, property prices for purchase. What I can tell you is there is a great variety of availability depending on what you're looking for. If you're looking for a long-term rental, a place where you can live yourself, that can be, it's not going to be super luxurious, or it just sort of like the equivalent of an apartment. I've seen listings as low as 50,000 USD for an apartment. I don't know if that's a bachelor or one bedroom. I'll have to look into it. Again, nothing fancy though. More typical, you're looking at, so again, today I saw this beautiful luxury condo, a one-bedroom unit, spacious one bedroom, was listed at 199 USD. Beautiful luxury bachelor units, 149 USD. Now, again, very much dependent on the location. If you want something that's right here on Quinta Avenida, and this is a project that I actually looked at, and it's in my favorite area of town, and it's right on Quinta Avenida, but in the quiet part of Quinta Avenida, they have, one bedroom plus den, and the price point was around 173,000 USD. It has a lock-off option, and I know I'm talking USD, I'll have to do the math to Canadian. But that particular one bedroom, the den could be literally locked off and turned into a separate rentable unit. So even while you're here, you could choose to live in one part of the unit and rent out the other part as a vacational rental. Very interesting, and many owners choose to do that. There are property management companies that will do the rental management for you. They literally are, and I know some of them because, again, I've had the pleasure of staying in Playa multiple times before and dealing with some of the property management companies. And I can tell you, I know some wonderful people that work in this field, really careful about customer service, attention to the client, and so on. So even if you're somebody who's perhaps considering an investment in this area, everything can be done legally through a lawyer. Foreigners are allowed to purchase property here. Financing, unfortunately, is not really an option if you are a foreigner. So if you were looking at buying something, you'd be having to, essentially come up with the cash. If it's a pre-construction type property, they want at least 30% down, from what I've seen. I'm going to have more information for you guys about the pre-construction project. Now, there are many condos that are already built, and the prices for those vary. I really wish one of my realtor friends could have joined us today. However, you can look forward to more on this topic. I will Be glad to share as I know more. And again, I will announce you as soon as my new Playa Real Estate Instagram account is created. I will be posting pictures of videos of apartments that are available either for rent or for sale. You know, my thinking is that if you've not been to the area, or you're new, or you've only maybe ever come as a tourist and you want to try it out, chances are you're going to want to rent before you buy. I guess logic tells me that would make more sense. But of course, some of you are interested about the property prices as well. Again, in terms of financing, you know, those of you who own your property back in Canada, I mean, I gave you the example of the Australian couple that I met who literally sold their house in Australia and got out of there. I also met a Canadian couple who did the same, and they were living in interior BC, absolutely beautiful area. They kind of saw the writing on the wall as to what was going on, and sold their house and came here with their 4-year-old daughter and the grandfather. And yeah, they're living somewhere, I don't want to say, but they're living in a neighborhood. Now, some people prefer, yeah, I mean, one other thing I could tell you, these neighborhoods that I showed you here, south of, or rather east of the Carretera Federal, this is I could say, the walkable open area of Playa. There are some people who prefer to live in a subdivision, an enclosed neighborhood. There are those available as well. My experience, and just look, you know, even from going to see those rentals with those realtors, those subdivisions tend to be located further out. You're going to need a car. I don't think you're going to be too much of a fan of so for example, there are beautiful, there's a neighborhood called Real Amalfi. I'll show you where it was. Anyway, they're further out here, and if you don't have a car, which you probably won't to begin with, you can get a rental car. They're not inexpensive. For rental cars, the cheapest I've seen is 500 pesos a day, which divided by 15 comes to about $33 a month. That a day, that is as low as you're going to see them. More typical is that you're going to see them at about 1,000 pesos per day, which is about 60. So you're looking at like roughly $1,000 a month for a rental car. I mean, that's how much my car was costing me in Canada with insurance and everything. So like, do I want to be paying that much for a rental car when I can just live in a walkable neighborhood where I don't really need a car? You know, it's a trade-off. You know, they do have, again, cabs are inexpensive. If you're taking a cab during the day just inside the city, I would say you can grab most cabs. There are very frequent taxi servicing here. If you're going to be taking a cab at night, there are a certain number of taxi companies that are more trustworthy than others. Unfortunately, I have heard of incidents where people get robbed. The taxi driver works with some up to no good people, and I have heard of cases of tourists getting robbed. So not advisable to take a cab late at night, especially by yourself. Or if you're going to be taking a cab at night, make sure you use one of the companies that I could refer you to. There are trustworthy, safety tested cab companies and drivers that I've gotten to know and been recommended to, including there's a female, it's called Pink Playa, I think. There's a female taxi company for women by women. Anyway, of course, you want to be smart about how you get around. I think the same applies in many places in the world, and you know, you want to use your common sense. And guys, again, there's a lot more I can share on this topic, and I will do so on future sessions, including on my upcoming Playa Real Estate Instagram account. But I wanted to give you guys an introduction, tell you, you know, why I like Playa. I think when you see some of my videos and especially when you're gonna see some of the listings and so on, you're gonna like what you see. I wish, is this the place? No, this is not it. Give me a second. I was gonna show you the one condo that I was sent the pictures too. Then again, I took a bunch of videos, but you'll have to forgive me. They are on my phone and I haven't had a chance to upload them anywhere, and I don't know how to share from my phone. Oh, guys, you'll have to forgive me. I don't even have them handy. Okay. Yeah, they're somewhere in one of these windows. You're gonna have to forgive me. And anyway, I hope this has been interesting. And for those of you who have been curious about this, at least it's a conversation starter. It gives you an idea of what you can expect should you choose to come to this area. I am available. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. I'm still having issues with my Maven Wealth email, and so please email me at hiletitia at LETITIA at protonmail.com. I do get those on my Mexican phone, so and I will, yeah, no, I'm not gonna be posting my number. I'm a little hesitant to post my number publicly, but feel free to email me if you have any questions, or feel free to reach out to me via direct message on Instagram or on Facebook, okay? Much love to all of you. Thank you for watching. I look forward to staying in touch and giving you more updates on this and on future editions of my Money Matters webinar and on my vlogs. Take care, everyone. Have a wonderful rest of the day and week. Peace and blessings to all of you.